Hello there, this is Tanner Phillips, and this is my final presentation video for Pathway. And on today's subject, we will be talking about the life and teachings of Jesus. So this is the first section here that we'll be talking about today. And so really what we're going to be covering is, in this part here, I really want to talk about the Gospels and what they are, what they mean, and really just what they're all about. Even in my own life, I've had instances with people that they've read the Gospels and then came to me later and said, wow, I had no idea that this was all the same accounts and they were all talking about the same guy. And so in this here, I want to explain this a little bit, what the Gospels are. And so we have Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John here. And what it is that it is 4 different accounts of the life of Jesus, the life of Christ. And some of these, they pick it up very, very early. Sometimes they are giving more accounts as far as maybe the middle of Jesus' life, different accounts as far as how he was crucified, when he rose again. And so it's really interesting when you look through it of, taking 4 different accounts of one person's life and the different things they get picked up on and what in whichever area it may be. And in this, if we can think about it a little bit, it would be no different as if we had 4 different people in our own lives and they said, hey, this is what happened. Nobody's going to tell the same story 4 times in a row perfect. Everybody's going to have their own accounts of what happened. It'd be no different than, say if you took a bottle of water and we gave it to 4 people and said, okay, tell us something about it. Some person may talk about how cold it was in their hands. Another person may think that what was most significant was maybe how good it tasted or how refreshing it was. Maybe another person describes the packaging or what's in it. But at the end of the day, they're all describing the same thing. They're all talking about the same subject, just different things to it that may have spoken out to them in different areas, in different parts there. And so as we read through the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, we look at Jesus' life. We look at it from his birth, as he's growing up, when his ministry begins, things that he's going through, when he starts predicting his death, and things are going to be happening at that point in his life. All these different guys that they're giving, like I say, the same account, just covering it in different ways. And then one thing, too, that we'll talk about shortly today is when we are reading through the Gospels, and especially when you get into more of the red letters, which is where Jesus himself is speaking, we start seeing a lot of things called parables. And so now what parables are, and I love parables, I love reading through them, I love teaching from them. And so what it is that what Jesus would do is that he would either have his disciples, the people that were traveling with him, or maybe sometimes he was just by himself, and that he would go into places and that he would be around people and he would begin to explain to them things that they may not fully understand in a way that they would get it. And so, when you think about this, this would be an example of Jesus going in and maybe talking about the parable as far as where you sow, on good ground or fertile ground or on a rock or whatever it may be. And so, even in a lot of these demographics, a lot of people were farmers. Well, if you come in and just start telling them this is how to live, this is how you can't live, they don't fully get it. But when you begin to explain to them, okay, imagine if you planted your seed on a rock, there's nothing for it to take depth to. And so Jesus, when he would go into these towns, he would look at what it was, look at the demographics and say, okay, this is how I can relate to people. This is how they can understand my word. This is how they can get to know me, have a relationship with me. And it was something that Jesus did so well, and something that we can learn from so much of, is that when we're talking to people and as we're spreading the gospel and as we're telling people about Jesus, that it can't always just be maybe the same way that we've always said things, or that we have to think about, okay, what setting am I in? How are people going to relate to this? How are they going to understand Jesus better? And that when we do those things and we, get on the same page with people, then it becomes like the aha moments of, oh, wow, the light bulb goes off and they say, okay, I get it. Yes, tell me more. I want to know more about Christ. I want to know more about him. Whatever it may be. And so as we're learning about this today, and as you're learning about the Gospels, and as we're teaching about this, one of the best places for you to start, if you are wanting to learn more about Jesus and his life, is to go read the Gospels. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Go read through those Gospels and really begin to see what Jesus did, who he was, how people saw him, his birth, his death, all these different things here. It is the best place, in my opinion, to start at, because once we figure out who the man is, then we can, go read everything else, go read all the other parts of the Bible, and it makes everything else just a little bit more easier to read when we understand who Jesus really was. And so today, just in conclusion, as we're talking about this, that the life of Jesus, the life of Christ. Where do I go? Where do I start reading at? Go through those Gospels. And then when you do that, be sure to pay attention to the parables, to the teachings. And then even in that, sometimes when you read through these, you're going to see differences. You're going to see things that almost, that's like, well, how come this person doesn't do this or this person does? It's 4 different people, 4 different accounts. And so just like me or you or whoever's watching, we're going to tell the same story 4 different ways. And so you'll see the differences in it, but that they're all saying the same thing. So thank you for watching today. Hopefully this helped you, and until next time.